This is Smoking Out the Closet. Now, here are your hosts.
Hi, I'm Rayven. I use she, her pronouns.
Hi, I'm Asmodeus. I use they, them pronouns.
And welcome back to another episode of
Smoking Out the Closet.
For those of you who are new or just joining us, we are a queer podcast.
Pun intended.
That talks about cannabis,
The LGBT community,
and everything in between.
and beyond.
So welcome.
Welcome.
Man, here we are, post 100 episodes.
Yeah.
Feels weird.
Right before the end of the year. It is, as of recording, the 11th of December. 4th
day of Hanukkah.
Yes.
Which, happy Hanukkah, everybody, or Hanukkah, depending on how you pronounce it. If you pronounce it with the H or the CH. That was an entire Twitter thread I saw one day. Just, how do you pronounce it and how do you spell it? Do you want to talk about what we're smoking today?
Sure. I think this was my pick. It was my pick. It's a Jack Herrera from Savvy, and a 8. And Savvy stuff is always small.
Yeah,
small guys.
The small buds, yeah.
Looking at the package, it doesn't even look like a Jack Herrera because the terpenoline is almost just trace amounts in here, which Jack usually has terpenoline. But there's 0.278 pinene, and there's 0.261 myrcene, and there's nothing really else notable in there.
Yeah, and I think there is like 2 distinct clones of Jack Herrera. Someone, correct me if I'm wrong. But I know there's one that's the more common Jack Herrera, which is high terpenoline, and then there's the one that's high pinene. But this has next to no pinene in it. Like, how do you breed out one of the 2 major features of a Jack Herrera?
And I've seen Jack Herreras that why is there myrcene in everything?
Yeah, like
it makes me sad.
Yeah, myrcene's been
I don't like myrcene.
I do occasionally, but like my thing is I've noticed myrcene has been really heavy this entire year in a lot of strains for some reason. Like they're just going gun-ho with the myrcene for some reason.
This does have some CBGA in it. It's at 1.392%. And then the THC on this is 25.85 or a 6. No, that's a 5.9. I'm sorry, this packaging is so freaking small. I can't.
And here's my question. How does like something that is over 20% THC with no CBD doesn't affect me at all, but then the first time I'm really smoking again and I have something that's like 11% THC and like 7% CBD, other than maybe the entourage effect, I got really high.
Yeah.
Which, that's not saying anything good about the Savvy product.
No, I did get kind of high and then I got too high quickly.
Yeah.
And then I was like, I am not comfortable with this. And like, that's the first time in a while that's happened. And I'm not sure what happened. I don't know.
Me either.
But I'm not a huge fan of this strain.
Because that's lower than the 0.5 pinene usually triggers an anxiety effect for you. Yeah. So it's very surprising. So either the lab results aren't right or this is just some bad weed.
Yeah. I don't recommend it.
I'm giving this, I originally said when we were talking about it while we were smoking, I was going to give it a 2.5. I'm honestly giving this a 1.5.
I was going to give it a 2. I don't know, that seems too gracious now. 1.75. Here we go.
You're doing 1.75?
1.75.
Because, like, here's my thing. While it was really good grinding, really beautiful colors, I didn't really see a lot of trichomes.
No.
On it that survive. Like, even in the picture, like, I'm going to pull up the picture you sent me.
Yeah.
And, like...
I edited it some, but it's not a lot. Just to brighten the...
Yeah, it's not super frosty.
No.
Like, there's more trichomes in the keef that's on the tray.
Yeah, honestly.
And so, like, the levels are super low. I felt next to nothing, which is weird because I've been on a THC break for about 3 weeks.
Yeah, that is very strange.
With the exception of the last episode. Because, like, yeah, I have had ingestibles, but those always just put me to sleep. I haven't inhaled anything, the exception of the 100th special, in 3 weeks.
Yeah.
So, the fact that I didn't feel jack, no pun intended, I didn't feel jack from this, is pretty sad.
Yeah.
So I mean, next to no flavor, it was like a really bad stale cigarette.
Yeah. There
Like,
wasn't really anything to it.
and there really wasn't.
Sorry.
You're good. And it's sad, you know?
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm sticking with my 1.5. This makes it certified boof.
Boof.
Because it is literally just fucking boof.
Yeah, it's not great. There's nothing really great about it.
Speaking of my weed break, can we talk about that for a bit?
Yeah.
So, for those of you who don't remember or don't know, I had a form of gender confirmation surgery and I've had some work done on my chest. And so, per my doctor's instructions, I wasn't supposed to smoke or inhale anything. And he's not against my cannabis use, but he was like, more just go with ingestibles. And that's great. They helped me sleep, but it did not help at all with my anxiety or my depression.
Yeah.
Um, and I fought it for so long, but recently I just caved. I'm like, you know what? I can sneeze. I don't cough a lot when I smoke weed. And when I do, my sneezes are worse than my coughs. And I've had some really bad sneezes with when the surgery was fresh. So I'm like, you know what? Screw this. I'm just gonna smoke. Now keep in mind, it's also way late. Most of my scars are full. Like I'm pretty much just scabbed at this point, but pretty much everything's fully sealed. So I'm supposed to go to the doctor in a couple of days from recording. So like I'm probably gonna get cleared. So I was kind of like, probably safe to do it now.
Yeah.
I wouldn't recommend it doing when the surgery was fresh, unless you know your body and everything. But listen to your doctor, obviously. But my mental health took a huge toll while on this. Like I didn't get like I'm trying to compare it to when I had my head injury because you brought up a lot of stuff that was very similar from that time. When I was off of work because I had a major concussion. And the thing is I also did a dip with my mental health around then, and I had weed
Yeah.
then. So the thing that kind of gets me is with that, I'm kind of comparing my mental health, and I feel like I'm about the same, but I feel like if I had weed, it would have been a lot easier because I am cooped up at home. I can't like I couldn't do much. It was kind of hard for me to walk places because like if I take a wrong step and I fall, like hell, he's dropping you off at your car. I walked home. I took a misstep and fell, and luckily the way I fell that I just skinned my knee pretty bad, and I made sure I landed on my shoulder. But I could have ripped my chest open, and so like it could have been bad. So like I didn't go outside. I pretty much stayed in my room the entire time, which that can get to anybody. Cabin fever is a real thing. But I didn't notice the effects where people were talking about like on Reddit's a bit about like I'm sure you've probably seen it too, where like people say, "Oh, I'm crabby and I'm flying off the handle," and uh like I'm getting headaches and everything. Like I've actually had a easier time not using weed than I would giving up caffeine.
Yeah.
And it says something in my opinion. No, I'm not saying that the other people's experiences are wrong or that they didn't experience these things. They totally could have. The body becomes dependent on chemicals and situations very easily. But there's a difference between dependency and addiction. And we've talked about this before. But the thing I hate about with the subreddits is they're like, see, I am an addict because I had withdrawal symptoms. And I'm like, you had a migraine, you had a couple days of a headache, and you were a little irritable. If you were heavy, if you, like you, or pardon me, if you drink coffee every day, you don't drink coffee for 2 days, guess what you become? Irritable, and you have headaches.
I can't imagine 2 days. 1 day, half a day without coffee, I become grouchy. My head hurts. I need caffeine.
And like just because your body's so used to having that chemical in your body now, and so that becomes a thing. And so like it becomes used to like having these chemicals and everything in the body, and then when you don't have it, your brain's like, oh, I don't have this, and the only way to react to it is, I don't know the science behind it, but it creates a headache.
Yeah.
um so yeah, it was not fun. Did you notice me get any irritable other than like my regular mental health stuff? Like, did I seem extra angry or anything?
I feel like you seemed a little extra like on edge about things. You were a little more anxious than like angry.
Mm-hmm.
I definitely can see like your anxiety getting pretty bad.
Yeah, and I think. Sorry, go
No,
ahead.
go ahead.
I think that's partially because I just wasn't medicated. Because for me, cannabis is replacing like Wellbutrin or prescribed anti-anxiety stuff.
Yeah.
But sorry, go ahead with your thought. You had.
It was one of those times I was like, well, and then I didn't piece together the rest of what I was gonna say. I'm sorry.
It's okay. I just want to make sure you still had your space to talk. Also, sorry, I just hit the mic. I just realized.
I'm also really glad that you can smoke again, because I feel like you become you again.
Yeah.
Like you've been kind of. I feel like we've been kind of anxious also winter, and like it's been dark, and like seasonal depression's a thing, and yeah.
No, I get that, and like I could kind of tell like I was putting up a wall and everything a bit. I don't do well when my anxiety is really bad. Of course, there's a lot of different factors going on as well that was making my anxieties bad, but we all talked about it, and I feel a bit better now too. So, I mean, that can also play into it.
I definitely notice I consume more in the wintertime. Like
Yeah.
I hated going outside when we had to go outside for our old apartment and go outside on the porch, but god damn it, I would pack the fattest joint imaginable and bundle my shit up and be out there for, I don't give a shit, like 45 minutes smoking that thing, but I was gonna enjoy my time out there
I know we have
because I
a
needed it.
basement.
Yeah, now we smoke in the basement.
I mean, we don't own the place, but having a house is not awesome.
Yeah, and also it's just like it's in the basement, and that's where like the furnace and shit is, so the air circulates pretty well.
Oh yeah.
And it doesn't smell like weed down there very long. Also incense.
Do you want to? Is there anything you want to add before we change topics about like the weed break? Anything you noticed with me, or?
I'm just thinking about taking one of my own because my tolerance has been fucked. But I also think I don't think that's gonna help, because I talked to our pharmacist at my store, and she even agrees it might be my medication, but there's really no solid evidence on that because we can't study that kind of thing. But that might be because I was like, so because it affects your alcohol tolerance, right? So why wouldn't it affect your cannabis tolerance?
Yeah.
She's like, well, that makes sense, but we just don't know.
Yeah, we really don't, and that's because it's been Schedule 1 for so long.
So I don't know if it would matter if I took a tolerance break, or if I just actually have to dose more. Because I was factoring with RSO, I got talking about ingestibles. I got so frustrated with my ingestibles recently; it was unreal. Because I was just like, okay, I'll have some RSO, and then I was like, nothing happened. I'm like, fuck. So I'll have a little bit more, nothing. I'll change to like the RSO I know that I think's really good, and it was before Cureleaf bought out Grassroots, but I loved Grassroots RSO. I've been sitting on this forever. It's like, ooh, this is really good. Nothing. And I was like, okay, I guess I'm just gonna fucking take twice as much, and then something. But yeah, tolerance can be a bitch.
It can be. Also, your hormone therapy could also be affecting it too.
Yeah, yours as well, like the opposite direction.
Yeah, because like I get drunk a lot faster now. I'm a lightweight. I take like a glass of wine and I'm good.
That's something I've noticed with my medication, is that it doesn't take as much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Excuse me. Well, do you want to talk about your topic that we ended up missing on the 100th episode?
Yes, sorry, I was yawning. So my partner actually sent me this article. It is in Extra Magazine on extramagazine.com, and it's called "Queer Collective Care: One Pansy Tattoo at a Time." It was posted October 4th of this year. From pink triangles to pansies, pop culture to politics, tattooing and queerness go hand in hand. Queer Ink is a 7-part series on queerness and tattooing. We'll dive into the ways that queer and trans people use tattooing to embody ourselves and their identities. I'm actually gonna look for the rest of these because I think it should be out right now. Like they're talking about like symbology and tattoos for queer people.
Yeah, because like hell, I got one on my shoulder. It's an Irish knot in the shape of a 3-leaf clover, but it has, at the time, my 3 pride flags, which I need to get updated.
Yeah. And then it's beautiful because this article goes on to talk about pansies and their symbology in the queer culture. Pansies have been queer for at least 100 years. Prior to the 1920s, the term pansy was wielded as an insult against men who didn't meet traditional standards of masculinity. Then came to a glittering whirl of drag ball culture that blossomed during the 1920s and 30s, sparked by the Harlem's masquerade balls known as the pansy craze. Some drag performers who gained prominence during this time also acted in Hollywood films. For instance, Jean Malin, who appeared alongside Joan Crawford in Dancing Lady in 1933, has further increased the visibility of LGBTQ2S plus people. I've never seen that abbreviation before. LGBTQ2S plus.
Two-spirit.
Okay. I learned something today. People in popular culture throughout North America, even as the restrictive Hays Code imposed anti-queer censorship on film production. In 2005, gay UK-based artist Paul Harfleet began his Pansy project, planting a single pansy at sites of homophobic abuse as a sign of quiet resilience. Today, through a project called 1,000 Pansies, a pansy has gained another meaning, a symbol of queer collective care. The project, launched by non-binary tattoo artist Cedri. Oh my gosh, I can't pronounce that. Can you try pronouncing their last name, please?
Silagi. We're so sorry we're butchering your last name.
Aims not only to symbolize care but directly facilitate it. By donating $500 or more to the Black Queer Health and Wellness Organization, the Knights and Orchids Society, participants can book a slot with one of 12 tattooers currently volunteering their time around the United States and receive the pansy design. Their last name, I cannot pronounce their last name. What was their first name again? Cedri. Oh, there we go. Cedri created specifically for the project. Those unable to afford $500 can book an appointment on a sliding scale, with the difference being made up by other donations. Since the project launched in October of 22, more than 100 pansies have been tattooed. Aww. And it has, like, from their Instagram, you can follow them. They're at the numericals of 1,000 pansies on Instagram. Oh, I love that. In April of 22, after a wave of violent legislation and culture cruelty clashed over trans and queer people in the United States, keep using their last name in this article. Cedri, thank you. Cedri wanted to bring joy to the hellscape through the idea that, quote, anyone and everyone wearing an image that speaks to being an ally around trans joy and queerness. They chose the pansy for its history as an LGBTQ2S plus symbol, its potential as a recognizable and replicable tattoo design as an homage to Hartfleet's Pansy project. Aww. And then they go on just to talk about some of the local communities like that they donate to and outreach to. I did look to see if there were any tattoo artists in Pittsburgh, in the Pittsburgh area, that were participating. I didn't see anything from this year. I did see from like last October when it did start that there were a couple. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe we could like bring it to a couple of because I know there's a couple queer owned tattoo shops around here. So we could say, hey, do you want to do a fancy project thing? That'd be pretty cool and donate money.
It would be pretty cool, and it'd be a really great way to like work with like the community center.
Yeah, absolutely.
And like Trans Uniting and stuff. So like maybe kind of like work with them and see like potential like who to go and who if they know kind of thing. Yeah, no, it's really good, and that's one thing I really am appreciative of. That like while the LGBTQIA plus community evolves, a lot of the things that we have had from the past evolve with it in a very unique and beautiful meaning for the time. Like we're bringing back, speaking of flowers, we're bringing back green carnations, which Oscar Wilde wore on his right above his pocket. I don't want to say it's a lapel, but around the lapel and above his pocket on his suit jacket. And Elliot Page recently did that. I think it's about a year ago, maybe at this point. Um, going on like a red carpet event or something, and wore a green carnation. And I'm like, that's beautiful. I mean, we have ways to flag each other in our community, but there's a lot of things that like we do to kind of show others that we are a safe space for others. And there's a lot of allies that are doing something like that too. I mean, David Tennant has buttons with pride flags and the TARDIS and everything. It says like I'm safe or something like that.
He is one of my favorite human beings on this planet. If by some means, David Tennant, you get to listen to this podcast, you're one of my favorite human beings.
And like, I don't think a lot of people realize that like until this whole bullshit with like gender critical people kind of surfaced mid, I want to say it, the seeds of it kind of started in 2015. Nobody was like this hive mind bullcrap of like anti-trans people. It's become, the whole anti-trans thing is relatively new. While there are people who are saying like, oh, I don't agree with trans people because they don't fully understand it, have been there for a while, and we've been the butt of jokes for a hot minute.
Yeah.
I would watch some scenes of like old TV, and some people would have like gay and trans people like Maude. Is that B. Arthur's old show before Golden Girls?
I think so.
And there was a couple times where like there was LGBT stuff, and B. Arthur's character was like, no, fuck that. Even on Golden Girls, B. Arthur's character, Dorothy, was very like, so what if he's gay?
Yeah.
I just rather him be happy.
Yeah.
I don't care that he's gay. You shouldn't either. You know? And it's weird to think nowadays that's controversial. And I'm like, this was the 70s, 80s.
And they're, stuff like that. And it's like, going back to, can we circle back to Doctor Who?
Yeah.
We're going to be real nerdy real quick. And I haven't watched any of the newer things, so please no spoilers in the comments on the Spotify comments or whatever. But I do know there are a lot of queer elements in like the newer episodes of Doctor Who, and everybody's like, "Oh my god, why is it so woke?" and this that. Have you not like looked at the history of sci-fi, and have you not looked at like where your superhero movies come from, and the comic books, and they literally all of the media that the nerds like it has been a social commentary, and like
oh yeah,
from the beginning.
Like continuing on that thought, like people are like, oh, Star Wars is so woke, it's anti-establishment and everything. And I'm like, you guys do realize that the original trilogy made by Lucas was a comment on America's involvement with the Vietnam War. Like, the Empire is based off America, and the rebels are the Viet Cong. Like, he's gone on record saying that. Like, did you guys not pick that up?
That's like the people who use the Punisher fucking
Oh my god!
logo.
Like the
Oh
with
my
the
god!
Blue Lives
Yeah,
Matter.
the Blue Lives Matter stripe and the Punisher head. Why the fuck? Why? What is?
They don't read the comics. They're like, oh, it's great. I'm like, you do know he kills cops too, right? He's even in one of the comics says you guys should not be emblemating me. Take my fucking logo off your fucking cars. Like, go fuck yourselves. And, you know, it's or the whole like one of my favorite things is like everyone's like either being like there was a queer when the first Spider-Man was it Into the Spider-Verse or yeah, I think it's Into the Spider-Verse and then Across the Spider-Verse, but the Sony Spider-Man movies.
Mhm.
In the first one, there was like ended up being a big contest because they noticed people were making their own Spider-Man personas or Spider-Sonas.
Yeah.
And one ended up winning the contest and ended up in Across the Universe and having her own comic series, which was she is a disabled Spider-Man with a wheelchair and everything, and then like the assisted walkers are used for the web slinging.
Oh, that's cool.
And she's gay. Like the character, I can't remember the actual character's like mortal name, like the secret identity.
Yeah.
But they're queer in some aspect because I haven't actually read the comics. I want to. They're on my list. I have a huge back catalog of comics to read, y'all, and I have no money.
You are preaching to the choir. My to be read is longer than probably my life expectancy at this point. Let's be real.
But a lot of people are saying like, "Oh, this person can't be Spider-Man." It's the same thing when Miles Morales became Spider-Man or a version of Spider-Man.
Mm-hmm.
Like, "Oh, we can't have this person be Spider-Man," when Stan Lee said anybody can be Spider-Man. Because Spider-Man is a mask. Anybody can be Spider-Man. Doesn't matter your race, your creed, your ethnicity, your gender. Anybody can be Spider-Man.
Mm-hmm.
And people don't understand that, you know?
Yeah. You think they would understand it coming from, the man himself.
Mm-hmm. The man who literally invented the character.
Who literally created Spider-Man.
But
Small flex. I knew someone who worked with him.
Yeah.
And he did lettering for him for Marvel for the longest time, and that he used to tell me stories about him. He was a pretty cool dude, Stan Lee.
Yeah, I've heard some really cool stories about him and everything. And it's definitely like a sadder world without him here.
Mm-hmm.
But like that's the thing with like a lot of nerd culture. You have what people think are nerds, which are like, you know, the toxic masculinity that is in nerd culture.
Yeah.
And that's because they're the loudest. But there are so many diverse people in the nerd community. Like you have Cool Nerd Weed Show. They're literally nerds about weed.
Yeah.
Like they love the science and everything behind weed, and they geek out about it. So do I. But like, there's so much you can do that's like nerdy and weed related. So there's this big thing, and I know we're coming up on the break, but I really want to say this. There's a big thing in the D&D community of what is weed in D&D context. And it's joked that Gandalf was smoking whatever that context was, and so was Merry and Pippin were always eating, even for a hobbit, because they were stoned off their gourd.
That makes sense. That makes sense.
Do you want to add anything before we hit the break?
Just that the people, you can tell, the reels from the posers and the people who get it and those who don't whenever it comes to comics, sci-fi, fucking do a little bit of research. I mean, it's cool to just like things, but also, unless you understand them, don't start arguments.
Well, like hell, the fucking Blade Runner, the original Blade Runner soundtrack, the inventor of synth music was a trans woman. And I'm going to end it on that note.
Yes.
Pretty in Pink and purely wood pulp derived, Blazy Susan Pink rolling papers and cones will add a pop of color to your next smoke sesh. Their classic pink papers are naturally dyed, vegan, GMO free, and food safe. They contain no amounts of heavy metals or pesticides unlike other paper producers. Care about what goes in your lungs with Blazy Susan papers and cones. Use promo code BGSOTC20 at checkout to get 20% off with your friends at Smoking Out the Closet. Plus, get free shipping on orders over $50 in the United States. And we are back. I'm also going to give on this little next article a bit of a trigger warning for light topics. I don't think it goes into serious discussion, but just to be on the safe side, what I'm about to bring up does have a little bit of sexual assault and rape in the article. So just be on the safe side for people's mental health. If you want to skip this ahead to later or just stop here, I totally don't blame you guys. But I just want to give people a heads up on this, just to be on the safe side. So Moms for Liberty was a big thing with this most recent local election here in Pennsylvania, where a lot of school board and other local government in Pennsylvania, especially the Pittsburgh area, were backed by Moms for Liberty. And for those of you who don't know who Moms for Liberty are, they are a big anti-LGBT group, kind of on the spurs of a lot of the groups who were founded back in like the 80s and 90s, even the 70s, who were very anti LGBT. So the article is from NBC News, and this is a doozy because it just proves that the people who are the loudest saying like LGBTQI people are deflecting.
Yeah.
And it's not a big surprise here. So a Pennsylvania chapter of the conservative activist group Moms for Liberty split from the organization on Monday which is last week's Monday, over the national leadership's response to a rape allegation against the co-founder's husband. Clarissa Page, I don't know why that's hard to say, who was Moms for Liberty's chapter chair in Northumberland County. I don't know why I want to say Cumberland. It's Northumberland
because
County.
There's a Cumberland County in Pennsylvania.
That's probably why.
Yeah.
And the state legislative lead for the group said she was disturbed that the national leaders quickly jumped to defend the Florida Republican Party chairman Christian Ziegler and his wife Bridget after the allegations and the criminal investigation into Ziegler's conduct became public last week. Bridget Ziegler, a school board member in Sarasota, Florida, and the original co-founder of Moms for Liberty, she has spoken at Moms for Liberty events and led training sessions for the group's members through the Leadership Institute, a conservative activist training organization. Christian Ziegler also led a presentation at Moms for Liberty's National Summit in July. And this brings me back to some of the politicians we have at the federal level, like Lauren is it Boebert? The brunette.
Oh, I'm not sure.
I think that's her name. She is super. We talked about it before. She's the one that is super anti-LGBT. Yeah, Lauren Boebert.
Yeah.
And says that we're groomers when her husband has flashed minors at a bowling alley.
Oh, is this the bitch who was kicked out of the? Okay, the bitch who was kicked out of the Beetlejuice showing. Yep. Okay. Yeah, I know exactly who the
for
fuck you're
her
talking
and the
about.
person she's having an affair with, but we're ruining this thing.
Oh yeah. Oh god.
We're not
God,
ruining.
Lord forbid gay people get married, but she can run around on her husband. That's fine.
Run around on her husband unconsensually. I
Unconsensually.
will point out they are not polyamorous.
This is actual cheating.
Let's see. Moms for Liberty has become a dominant force in local and national politics, revolving around quote-unquote culture war issues over the past 2 years, and helping push conservative policies around LGBTQIA+ rights in school, and elect right-wing school board members who wanted more quote patriotic curricula. But the growing
Wait, the fuck is that even supposed to mean?
Like they don't want like
the whitewash. They want it whitewashed.
Yeah, they want history whitewashed. I can't even say it. It's but like I'm laughing at our cats right now because we're play fighting on the edge of our bed.
They were just looking at each other and being adorable. And now they're like airplanes.
Finn's just looking at us angrily like, would you shut up?
Stop talking about us.
I never had a cat give me the stink eye before. Don't look at me like that, dude. What was I talking about a second ago? Oh yeah, it's like removing the actual history. They're the ones that are approaching the critical race theory thing, which is only taught. Critical race theory in a actual curriculum sense is only taught in advanced courses in college.
Mm-hmm.
Big fucking surprise. The thing they're referring to like as critical race theory in like public schools is basically saying, hey, guess what? The Trail of Tears happened. Hey, guess what? Slavery was a thing. Hey, guess what? Jim Crow laws.
That should have just been taught anyway.
Yeah, hell, it was taught when we were in school, and half the Moms for Liberty bitches are our age.
It wasn't taught when I was in school. I got the whitewash bullshit. Of course, I was also middle bumfuck nowhere high school.
Yeah, and I went to school in between like 5 or 6 military bases in Virginia, which the ironic thing is you didn't get those classes, but I did.
Yeah.
I also learned the probably because Jamestown was like not even half an hour away from where I grew up, that I learned the real story of what happened to Pocahontas very early and was very upset with Disney's portrayal at a very young age.
I don't think I've ever watched Pocahontas.
You're not missing much.
Okay.
Like, does it have good soundtrack? Yes. Is it beautifully animated? Yes. It is a horrible representation of what ended up happening to her. After the Florida Center for Government Accountability first reported on the sexual assault allegations on Thursday, Moms for Liberty posted on Twitter. I'm not saying X, formerly known as Twitter. I am just going to call it Twitter. Fuck Elon Musk.
And nobody calls it X except for Elon Musk.
Or news outlets like this.
Does everybody know why he did that? I want everyone just to know why.
He's obsessed with the letter.
He just likes that letter. That's the only reason he did it.
He tried getting PayPal called X.com, and that's how he got kicked out of PayPal.
They're like, it's fucking stop. You're stupid.
That it was a, quote, another attempt today to ruin the reputation of a strong woman fighting for America, end quote. Moms for Liberty deleted the tweet. Co-founder Tiffany Justice said she did so because of influx of hateful messages. Things people were saying were so horrific, I didn't want to give an outlet to it, she told NBC News at the time. In an interview Thursday, Page said she did not think the organization should have ever gotten involved in the matter. Your co-founder's husband is doing this crap.
And you don't think the organization that...
Okay, because like there's this thing with the military, right? The reflection of your family reflects on you.
Mm.
That's why some people, when their kids are crazy or anything, can get passed up for promotions, is because they also look at your family, and if your kid gets arrested or something, you can get passed up because you're not taking care of things at home.
Mm-hmm.
And if you can't take care of things at home, you can't take care of things for the military. And in my opinion, that is a pretty sound thing.
Mm-hmm.
If you are going around saying that you are out there protecting kids, but you can't even protect other people from your own fucking husband, you shouldn't be out there trying to promote protection for kids, first off. Second of all, you have not even divorced this guy, separated from him, try helping the police in any way you can against him. You are defending your husband 150% beyond this. So you can't say you're there for the kids. You can't say you're there for women, because you're obviously fucking not.
Yeah, or else you'd be doing something.
You're just using this. You're just using the whole, it's been like this for years, protect the kids as a way to promote your bigotry and your hate against a community that has done nothing to you
Mm-hmm.
in any way, shape, or form.
Mm-hmm.
Page is going on to say, quote, it technically should have never been a Moms for Liberty issue, but by taking that stance Thursday night, it became their fight, and it shouldn't have. Page said she and her members are starting a group called the Northumberland County Education Alliance. So if you're in Pennsylvania, which Northumberland's not too far from where we live, if I recall correctly, that's like a bit north, isn't it?
Are you talking about Cumberland County?
Northumberland County.
Northumberland? No, Northumberland. That's Pennsylvania? Is that Pennsylvania?
That's Pennsylvania.
What? I'm so confused. Why do we have Northumberland and Cumberland County? That's just confusing.
Yeah, Northumberland County.
I don't know where that is.
I think it's west side of PA.
I'm gonna look it up.
Northumberland County Education Alliance. So for those of you who live in PA, keep an eye out for them, because they're basically Moms for Liberty without the brand recognition. They are Walmart. It's
Kirkland,
Walmart brand.
Kirkland.
No. Don't disrespect Costco like that. Don't
Walmart.
dare disrespect
Great value
Costco.
brand. Yeah, it is out.
Oh, it's out towards Philly.
Yeah, like Bloomsburg, north of Harrisburg.
Yeah, so that's a bit of a ways. Okay.
Williamsport area, south of Williamsport.
Where was I? Policies and parental rights in local schools. Their split from Moms for Liberty was first reported. She sells by the seashore. Yellow leather, yellow leather, red leather. I didn't do my vocal warm-ups for this. Can you tell? Was first reported by the news item, a newspaper in Shamokin, Pennsylvania. Quote, we have been truly shaken to read of the serious criminal allegations against Christian Ziegler, Justice and fellow co-founder Tina Deskovich said in a statement Tuesday. We believe an allegation of sexual assault should be taken seriously and fully investigated. Which, okay, cool. You're putting your money where your mouth is. You guys are siding with women, so I can slightly take you a little bit more serious than women's issues, but you really don't. With all the other shit. Again, I don't really trust these people as far as I could throw them, and I can't lift anything over 5 pounds. So they said, adding that Bridget Ziegler left the group a month after its launch in January 2021. Regarding the Northumberland chapter, the co-founder said they appreciate this chapter's hard work, and we hope that we continue to fight for parental rights. The fight for parental rights. Okay. Your fight for parental rights is also including the because here's my thing with that argument, and I'm just gonna go on a quick tangent here.
Go for it.
If the right for parental rights includes my kids should be supportive, feel safe, and in my home, and not abused, that's fine. But that's the thing that they're fighting against. They don't even think parents should have the right to. It's a double-edged sword. They want to give parents more rights so kids in schools can't transition. But when the parents allow their kids to be them true selves outside of school, they also don't want that. So you don't really care about parental rights. You just hate gay people.
Mm-hmm.
Quit hiding behind the terminology. Quit hiding behind these little fucking whistleblowing bullshit. Just say it outright and we can all hate you.
Mm-hmm. We can just duke it out.
According to a search warrant affidavit first obtained by the nonpartisan Florida Center for Government Accountability and shared with NBC News, a woman who had known the Zieglers for the past 20 years reported to the police that Christian Ziegler sexually assaulted her at her apartment on October 2nd. Ziegler told investigators that he had consensual sex with the woman on October 2nd, and according to the affidavit, Bridget Ziegler told detectives that she and her husband had a consensual three-way encounter with that woman last year. But aren't you guys the ones that are saying gay people are ruining the sanctity of marriage? And a marriage should be between one man and one woman?
Yeah, doesn't know what it say in your Bible or whatever.
Which it doesn't,
No.
first off.
But they like to think that.
Yeah. But also, like, what? You guys are against polyamory. Why are you having that?
Good old Christian three-way, you know.
Yeah, that's adultery according to the Bible, which is a sin. And that's the thing, I hate that. Like, I'm not against Christians. You know, and where I grew up in the South, some of them were my favorite. They were mostly, Baptists and Episcopalian, but I mean, they were cool. They were literally the kind where like, hey, there's a homeless guy in the street. Let's get him some food. Let's get him some food. Let's get him a warm place to sleep.
Those are the good Christians.
Ones that actually follow Jesus' teachings.
I have never been surrounded by any of them, so yeah, they are the good Christians.
The ones that would actually be okay going to a fish fry on a Friday and be like they don't even care. They're like, you hungry? Yeah, but I'm not Christian. I don't care. That's not what I asked. I said, are you hungry? And I'm like, yeah. All right. Come on, grab a plate. We're having catfish. I'm like, oh yeah. Those are the kinds I really like,
Yeah.
The ones that don't use religion as a weapon, but use it as a tool to help people.
Yes.
Those I like. Is there anything you want to add to this whole debacle? Because I'm tired of reading about double standard moms for liberty.
No, I'm good.
Well, I have another topic that's actually on the upswing instead of the downswing with that. This is from Pink News. Lesbian swimmer Diana Nyad changes stance on trans athletes. Quote, I regret any harm I have caused. Nyad, who had made history in 2013 by becoming the first person to report swimming from Cuba to Florida without the use of a protective shark cage, has changed her stance after previously publicly opposing trans women taking part in women's sports. Now, this is what we call growth.
Yes, we love growth.
And I'm doing the thing from Parks and Rec. Growth. So, what's going on? So, the 74-year-old author and long-distance swimmer, the subject of recently released Netflix biopic Nyad, starring Jodie Foster, wrote an op-ed in the Washington Post in 2022, arguing against trans women's inclusion in elite sports on women's teams. Since then, however, Nyad explained that she has done, quote, a lot of deep dive thinking, which I love a pun sometimes. That's more wordplay, which I appreciate.
That's what puns are.
Yeah, I guess, technically.
You make puns all the damn time, and you think they're funny.
Yeah,
Going down the grocery aisles, making grocery store puns. Then I make them, and you pinch me.
Pinch. I just like pinching you.
Yeah, I've seen.
Also, if that ever bothers you, you can always tell me to stop.
I know. You're just being silly.
Quote, I have come to understand that the science is far more complex than I had thought. Really. And that there are clearly more educated experts than I who are creating policies to ensure that elite sports are both fair and inclusive of all women, she said in an interview with Out. Now, here's my thing. Do you know why we have separate sex sports?
No.
Because of misogyny.
Why am I not surprised?
And toxic masculinity.
Why am I not surprised?
So here's the thing. So we have separate sports based on quote unquote sexes because of when women were first starting to come into sports, and I believe technically it was football. It's not American football. What my side, the British side of my family calls football, which I think it started in England, to be honest, with the whole separate sexes, genders, whatever you want to refer. Segregation was because they didn't want to lose to women because they feel that would make them inferior and less of a man.
What pussies? That's what I have to fucking say about that. If that's what you're worried about, get good, scrub. I don't know what to fucking tell you.
And here's the thing: when I was in the military, I knew a woman who was training to be a bomb diffuser, which
That's
is
badass.
a very labor intensive, very physical job, especially when you're hauling that gear and everything.
Mm-hmm.
And she ended up getting unqualified for it because she tore a major tendon, I think.
Yikes.
Yeah, but when I said this girl can out pull up a lot of the guys I knew in there at the time, like just freaking going ham, one arm doing full on pull ups, like fully letting her arm go down and fully bringing herself with her like her collarbone to the bar, and then going back down with one arm. And I'm like, A, that's impressive. B, it's kind of hot. C, all these guys are just looking nervous and anxious right now over here. And then
as they should.
And like they're looking at me, it's like, "Are you worried?" I'm like, "What? She's pulling up more than you, dude. I can't do one. I don't care. I suck. I was never good at pull-ups.
I don't think I've ever tried them.
Also, I'm sorry for how loud I just got there.
You're the one having to edit.
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 Let's see. She continues going on. I regret weighing in on that conversation and any harm I might have caused. Diana added in the interview that the climate of the trans community, quote, has turned dire and dangerous, end quote, and that women are negatively affected by trans people being targeted by discrimination and abuse in sports and elsewhere. I am today firmly on the side of inclusion, she explained. Trans women athletes deserve our uttermost respect. I stand with them in a world of sports and fight for their full equality for all trans people. We are all sisters and siblings under the blue sky, and we should all have equal opportunity to play the sports we choose and the sports we love.
Aww.
That line right there is pretty much how I was raised. We are all the same. We are all human. We all deserve the same respect as everybody else. Because guess what? We're only on this world for a short time, then we all fucking die. So why make it any more of a hassle than it has to be with every fucking thing else going on? Literally, like, I grew up and hearing stories of like my papa, my grandfather, like dealing with racists when he was in school as a kid in rural Alabama. Like, he remembers having to get like going into fights. Like, this is all third hand accountability. Like, I guess second hand because he told me these stories. But like, he remembers going into fights because of racists in his school. Now, keep in mind, my papa is still alive. Desegregation is in his lifetime. Like, he lived through that. A lot of people think it's like ancient history. It's not.
No.
A lot of these politicians who were politicians in some cases, who were upset about desegregation, are still in office. Let's not forget that.
That's gross.
Yeah. So this just shows like amazing growth, and then just the fact that, in my opinion, a lot of people don't understand what being trans is about, what all the background is about being trans. Like, they don't fully understand it, you know?
Yeah.
Is there anything you would want to add to this?
I don't think so.
Okay. The one thing that kind of brings up a little fact in my head just real fast is the whole Michael Knowles thing. We were watching the whole trans bit with John last week tonight with John Oliver.
Yes.
Is like, oh, if someone came in and like, hey, doc, chop my fingers off, we would say they're crazy. But like when it comes to like your sexual reassignment surgery, which I think he said, which is gender reassignment surgery, the accurate term.
He said a little girl came in and said, "Chop off my uterus."
Yeah, that's what it was. And I'm like, okay, people do that. Not everyone wants to have kids.
Yeah.
People have, cancer in their history and everything. There are a myriad of reasons why we actually do that. That's not related to being trans. But you're only focusing on it because it's trans related. Also, no kid does that. Even like women, like adult women, have to get so many things. And when you're young, like 20, it's a pain in the ass to do because everyone's like, well, what about your husband? I'm like, dude, I'm gay. Fuck off.
Yeah, who gives a fuck? Also, who gives a fuck? It's their body. Let them do what the fuck they want.
And I'm like, also, like, not everybody gets gender confirmation surgery.
Yeah.
I'll use me for an example. I have one, and I'm only getting it. And all I did was just make my boobs bigger.
Yeah.
To be crude about it. Anything else you want to bring up before we end the episode?
If you haven't watched that episode of Last Week's Night with John Oliver, go do that. There are 2 of them. All of them are up for free on his YouTube channel. If you follow his Twitter, he posts when the account automatically posts whenever the upload is up on YouTube. If you don't have HBO Max, the ones on the YouTube channel are just their main stories, which both transgender ones are up there.
And they're pretty good.
Really great stuff because John is a really great ally.
Also, watch the Subway one because it's funny.
It is. It's hilarious.
Well, I guess if that's it, my name is Rayven. I use she, her pronouns.
I'm Asmodeus. I use they, them pronouns.
And this has been another episode of Smoking Out the Closet. Bye.
Bye.